Who's that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Who's that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? It's almost time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time to put Joe to drop his knowledge, it's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. So here we go, we're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, Fence fam? So good to be back with you guys, as always, virtually, as it were. It's good to see you guys again. Appreciate you guys making time to come out and participate in the live Q&A. If you guys are listening to this on a podcast, you are listening to a live or recorded version of a live conversation that I host most every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Central. If you'd like to weigh in real time, ask your questions live, you can do that by searching Joe Everest on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Really, anywhere you get video content is probably where you'll find us in some form, shape, or fashion. We'd love to have you guys participate. If you're listening to this and you enjoy it and you appreciate the content, it would mean the world if you left a review. Let us know how we're doing. Before we get into today's topic, let's first give thanks to the sponsors. Expert Professional Wood Care Products. Thank you so much, Caleb, Ashley, and the team. You guys treat us so well and our customers so well. If you guys are looking for wood staining product, you can't find much better than Expert Professional Wood Care Products. We like using it as a business. They're a sponsor because first we were a customer and we enjoyed it a lot. And I thought more fencing folks would be better off if they knew Expert Professional Wood Care Products as well. So here we are. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. To the Expert team, to Caleb and Ashley's team, thank you so much for taking care of a few orders we had this week. They were shipped very quickly. One of our customers called to ask how it got to them so quickly. And I said, well, it's basically like magic. So thank you guys so much. Guys, if you're watching this live, jump in the comments. Let us know you're here. Also, if you do the affirmations, that would be great. You know, if you're on Facebook, if you hold down like and you pick one of those, I don't know that it matters which one you pick. So far, someone has given a shocked face. Now, let's see who that, let's see. Will it tell us? It's Mark. What's up, Mark? Giving us the shocked face. All right. I love it. If you guys are watching live, be sure to also drop in the comments. Let us know you're here. That's how I know you're here, and that's how we can have a conversation back and forth. The topic that I want to talk about today, so last week we talked about hiring. The week before we talked about trade shows, kind of like lead generation in the spring. Update, I guess, on the where to find team members conversation from last week. So I talked about we use HireClick for finding the applicants. For it basically pushes out our listing to a bucket load of these hiring websites. So, and then it aggregates all the applications back in. So over the last week, I went through, there's 60 some odd applications, went through there and then submitted the ones that looked like they would be a good fit. We sent them on to HireBus, which is it's a personality assessment tool is technically what it is, but it kind of lets you see what seat on the bus they would fit or they would sit in the best, I guess, that they would perform at best. So there's like, there's inside sales and outside sales, there's general labor, there's administrative assistant, basically all the roles you would see in a company. There's different ones. We sent them all through the general labor, and the ones that scored 8 or 9, we've scheduled them for interviews. So far, we've had a few interviews, a couple, a few, 3. So it would be a few. We've got a few more scheduled for next week. So we'll see how that goes. But HireClick, and these are not sponsors. These are just programs I use and that I like. HireClick and HireBus have been doing really well for us. So brief update there. We'll probably be making a decision in the next week or so. What else? So today's topic is, what is your sweet spot as far as lead time goes? You hear different things, right? So you hear some folks, and I say here, you see on the social media platforms, 4 to 6 weeks seems pretty typical. You see some folks that are much further out than that, so by midsummer, they're saying they've got the rest of their year booked out and that sort of thing. And then some folks like to capitalize only being 2 or 3 weeks out. So if a customer calls and needs a fence quickly and they're willing to pay more for the contractor to show up quickly, this company is available. So interested to see where you guys land as far as what is your sweet spot on how far out to be booked for production. What's your lead time? And then the subsequent conversation from that is how do you control that? Right. So there's levers you can pull, right? So in the wintertime, you hear about, either there's a few trains of thought. One is you can offer discounts. You can lower your gross profit to try to buy work, or at least not buy work, but earn less to keep your guys busy. There are also the free upgrades. So Sean King, I listened to Sean King a long time ago when he was talking about, hey, don't discount, because now Sean's got a whole graph, a whole talk about how dangerous and slippery of a slope it is to start offering discounts. So he offers a free upgrade. So if we're talking about an ornamental fence, instead of a square top gate, we can upgrade you to an arch top gate. I believe he actually does upgrade credits. So you have this much credit to upgrade. It could be anything. It could be gates. It could be solar lights. It could be anything. A couple trains of thought there. But then the opposite is, so when summer comes and, if we're 4 to 6 weeks out, what happens when we're 7, 8, 9 weeks out consistently? What lever do you pull to try to bring that back? So that will be the subsequent conversation. The first conversation, though, is how far out do you guys enjoy being? Let me know in the comments below as we say hello to everyone. First in the chat, Roger Bentoncourt. As always, hello, Joe and the rest of the Fence fam. Hello, Roger. Roger is going to be listening to this as a record because he's got things to do, and I absolutely understand that. It's a Saturday morning, and if, depending on where in the world you're viewing this from, at least here in the Midwest, it is a beautiful Saturday morning. So, absolutely understand everything. Everyone has something else to do, but if you're watching this on a recorded live, leave your comments still in the comments below. They still come to my cell phone, for better or worse. I see them all. Eventually, it's not like real time. There are a lot of comments, but leave it in the comments below. I'll be able to come back around to that as quickly as I can. Next up, Front Rock Fences, our friend to the north. What is up? Good morning, Joe. Good morning. Well, hey, Chris is here. Hello, Chris. Good morning, Joe and the Fence fam. Good morning, Chris. Good seeing you in the chat. Hey-o. Name we haven't seen in a while, Jeremy. Hello, Jeremy. Hi, hope everyone is well. Jeremy, we hope you are well as well. Yeah. Robert Looker, hey, how goes it, my dude? So good, Robert. I hope you're doing well as well. I hope you're doing well as well. That doesn't sound right, but I think it's right. Chris says, good morning, Joe and the Fence fam. Good morning, Chris. Muck Tape, Christopher, how are you? Good morning, Joe from Philly. Chris, are you back in Philly? Because I saw a social media post where you're gallivanting up and down the western seaboard. Not really, but Napa, which made me a bit jealous. Hope you had a safe trip. Trevor said 3 to 4 weeks out currently. All right. Running leads and watching the live right now. Hey, there you go. Appreciate you watching, Trevor. Gedrick says, I love your vids. I'll never own my own home, but I live home ownership and maintaining my hypothetical home by watching your vids. Gedrick, I appreciate you watching all the same. Never say never. Maybe you'll own a home and maybe you'll have a fence. You'll need a little help and you'll remember a few of the things we talked about. All right, guys, like I said, as you guys are trickling in, let us know by saying hello. And also the topic of the day is, what is your ideal lead time? Let's see who else is giving us affirmations while we're at it. Cheto is with us. Cheto, hello. How are you, sir? Good to see you watching the vid. So lead time. Let me scroll back up here. So Trevor's 3 to 4 weeks out currently. I'll be honest. So we're in that, but we might be 4 to 5 weeks out. So we had a bunch of mail come in, and we haven't sorted through it quite yet. But in that mail, had a good amount of checks in there, which was odd because it was Good Friday. So I didn't expect for there to be mail on Good Friday because you never know when the mail's going to run. It seems to, I don't know. You never know which holidays are taken off or not. But anyway, 3 to 4 weeks out was before the mail run. So all of our process, and your process can vary, is we schedule a job when we have a signed contract and a deposit for 50% in hand. Then we'll go ahead and schedule it. So 3 to 4 weeks, but I know there's a few checks in there, so we could go. We've got about 15 or 16 weeks of work on bid right now. So if it all came, which I hope it doesn't all come, because that means we bid it way too cheaply. But if it does all, anyway, so there are likely a week or two of work sitting in the deposit stack or in the check stack. So we'll see. But 3 to 4 weeks is pretty average, right? So 4 to 6 seems to be, when I talk to folks, seems to be the average. So what do you do in the wintertime? I'd love to hear from you guys, what you guys do in the wintertime. So a couple weeks ago, like I said, we talked about these home shows in the spring. We had Lawn and Garden show last month, middle of last month. We've got the HBA, the Home Builders Association home show coming up next month in April, which is right around the corner. So trade shows are always big for us in the spring. As I alluded to earlier, we kind of follow Sean King's method of offering upgrade credits, free upgrades into. We do a lot of wood on the residential side. So, and this is all pertains to residential. For commercial, it's all a fairly steady flow throughout the year. I mean, it ebbs and flows. It's certainly busier in the summer than it is in the winter. But we don't do a ton of marketing towards commercial. It just has a way of finding us, I suppose. So this conversation is for residential, the 4 to 6 weeks out. So commercial, we always stay kind of in that 4 to 6, 5 weeks plus or minus. It doesn't vary a lot. Stays pretty consistent. So in residential, 4 to 6 weeks seems to be average, seems to be where we're at. So we'll offer upgrade credits for residential. If it's a wood fence, like I said, we do a lot of that. We'll offer a free upgrade into a pre-stained fence. In that, we only offer cedar materials on the pickets and rails. Now, there's a whole conversation. We've gone back and forth on offering wood post, treated pine post. We go back and forth on that, but the pickets and rails are always cedar, so which we can offer a free upgrade credit for any cedar materials, which tends to do fairly well in the wintertime. It also helps us by putting more pre-stained product out in the market, so it makes it look more normal. And we have these conversations now more regularly of, there is a nice brown fence, there's a stained fence. They'll use different ways of describing this, but say, yeah, there's a stained fence in my neighborhood. It's got your guys' sign on it. I'd like a fence like that. Could you give me a bid for that? Once your customers see it in the market more often, it becomes more normal, and then they start asking for it. And I think this is the way. So our market isn't a big vinyl market. And I think that's simply because there hasn't been a company that pushes it really hard. We have a few companies, 2 companies that offer, they have routers. They offer vinyl to where they'll buy it in bulk and they'll router it and they'll install it. So I would term those just a vinyl fence company. They also do other things, but they primarily do vinyl fence. But it's just not widely seen in the market, and they don't market it. I don't want to say very well. They just don't market it as a point, right? So they don't run a lot of ads to vinyl fence. They'll run ads about their companies. Anyway, so by offering more pre-stained fence as a free upgrade, so we're not discounting, we're offering an upgrade, it gets more pre-stained in the market, and now it's becoming more just normal for people to see a pre-stained product. And then we can do the education portion to talk about why it's important and the benefits to the customer, that sort of thing. Free upgrade credits in the wintertime. And I understand there's 2 ways to look in the coin, right? So you can offer a free upgrade into a pre-stained cedar. And so which point, the other side of the coin is, well, so you're offering the pre-stained cedar, but just at a discounted price. You can look at the coin from either side. Offering the free upgrades, it's easier to walk that back as we get busier, right? So if we're trying for the 4 to 6 weeks and we're 2 to 3 weeks out, we'll do free upgrade credits until we fill the calendar consistently 4 to 6 weeks, and then we'll just stop offering it. Now, if someone calls a month later and asks for that free upgrade, it depends on the schedule, right? It depends on the job, frankly. A lot of times we'll honor it, keep moving forward, because it's an easier conversation than telling them that it doesn't apply anymore. But at some point, it's not going to. So a job we bid in January, we're not going to offer the upgrade in June. Now, all of our proposals say they have the typical language of this bid is good for 15 days. After from 16 days on, it'll need to be rebid, that sort of thing. So we certainly have the opportunity to say, well, let me rebid it. We aren't offering the free upgrade credit. And we'll be pretty upfront about it. At that point, we were trying to have more work for our guys. At this point, we've got a lot more work, so we're not offering that free upgrade credit. We will still offer that fence at that price. We just won't be able to upgrade it to the pre-stained. I can absolutely shoot you a number on that as well. That conversation goes a bit better than, well, we were running a 10% off or 15% off, whatever the discount would be. Now we're just not offering that, right? We're not offering that in the summer, because if I'm the customer, I hear, well, if you're willing to do it for 10% less in January, then you're just making 10% more. That money goes straight into your pocket here in June. Now I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, or at least I'm not getting as good of a deal. It just feels a bit different. And the conversations go quite a bit different. There's more understanding when we say we're just not running the free upgrade credit right now. We certainly will be again this winter, likely. If our schedule comes back into the 2 to 3 week zone, then we likely will offer that again. If you'd like to wait, I absolutely understand. But if you're needing that fence today, we can install the fence for a small fee. We can upgrade it to a pre-stain. It just tends to go better. There's a little bit more understanding there than when we said, if we're offering a discount and we just took away the discount. The customers are pretty quick. They're going to understand that money goes to the pocket. So let me know what you guys do. You guys watching the live, there's 30 some odd of you right now. So if you're watching the live, let us know, how do you guys do? What do you guys do this wintertime when it comes to, or this past winter when it comes to trying to fill up the schedule? Let's say hello to a few people while those come in. All right, Chris says he's back on the East Coast and now playing work catch up. Yeah, you drove the coast to California. You and your wife will love it. We have a few too many kiddos at the moment, but in the house. But one day, the Napa does look beautiful. Finally, Friday says, no matter how long a person has been in a trade, you'll never learn it all. Keep growing with these vids. Absolutely. I appreciate you tuning in. All right. So we were talking about free upgrade credits versus discounts. I absolutely understand they're roughly the same, but one is a bit better to walk back than the other. Or at least is the conversation's a bit more comfortable to walk back than the other. But the opposite is true also in the summer, right? So if we're 4 to 6 weeks out is our sweet spot, and what happens when we're 7, 8, 9 weeks out, which can occur, the prices go up, right? So, and this is the same. This is the same that happens in every industry, right? So take automobiles, for example. So typically to move vehicles, 24 models are out, to move 23 models, they'll offer discounts on the MSRP, and they'll offer free upgrades, right? So they'll throw in floor mats, or they'll throw in oil changes, or whatever it is they want to try to throw on to sweeten the deal. But just a few years ago, when the supply chain was in shambles, no cars were coming, everything was being sold at MSRP or above MSRP. So I saw people all over Facebook outraged, and they were typically the higher end vehicles. But for a good example, so for Ozark Wireworks, we were looking to buy a dual rear wheel, 1 ton long bed pickup truck, just to put a gooseneck on and run wire around. None of these trucks existed when we were looking for these trucks. So not only did we pay full MSRP, we actually paid 10 grand over MSRP, but they threw in 4 free oil changes. So take that for what it's worth. So we saved a couple $100 in oil changes maybe, but paid 10 grand over sticker. You see this in other industries, right? So when they're trying to slow down demand, they'll increase price. We do the same thing. If it's June or July, we're 7, 8, 9 weeks out consistently. So we don't do it the first week. We typically wait a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. But if we're consistently 7 to 8 weeks out, 9 weeks out, 3 weeks in a row, we'll raise prices by 5%. Instead of a 55% gross, we'll step it up. We'll see what the market will allow. There's a conversation here and you can look at it by close ratio. Right. So national average seems to be between 30-35% close ratio. So if we're closing half the jobs, if that close ratio is 50%, that very well could be the market telling us we're underpriced for the value we're delivering to the market. Or conversely, if we're only closing 10% or 15%, well, that's the market telling us we're overpriced for the value the market perceives. Now, this can be for a few reasons. One, it could be we're not doing our job as far as education goes. Education through marketing is the main thing, is we're using cedar materials. Why are the cedar materials important? Not all cedar materials are created equal, right? So there's a lot of import cedar in our market that people are realizing now isn't as good of a deal as they thought it was, because it's acting like import cedar acts. Education on which cedar we use. We'll use an Eastern Red Cedar. It's a board I like a lot. Why steel posts are more important or more valuable than wood posts, even though they're more expensive. Maybe maybe we're not doing our job as far as education is the thing. But if we look at our marketing and we say, no, we're doing the same education, same level of education as we've done in the past, but we're still seeing our sales rate, our close ratio slide, our sales slide, and our production schedule is pulling back to 2 to 3 weeks. Well, we need to see about adjusting that. Like I said, the first lever we pull is the free upgrades. Hey, so we're bidding a wood fence. It's going to have cedar material. If you book this job before the end of the month, I can go ahead and offer a free upgrade credit just as a way of saying thank you and also as a way of keeping our guys busy. How does that sound? Well, sure, we've already given you a number, so now all we're doing is making that number more valuable. If the average fence is $8,500, then maybe they feel like they're getting a better deal, which they are, and we can tell them, say, normally, you know, in a regular year or in a regular part of the year, this would now cost whatever it is, $9,000, $9,500. But today, and I understand you're going to need to talk to your significant other. It's a big decision. I absolutely understand. So if you make the decision by the end of the month, I would be glad to upgrade that to a free pre-stained product for free. And then, like I said, in the summertime, as our schedule gets longer, we'll start increasing the prices. So typically, the first thing is we'll sunset the free upgrade credit. We'll see how that typically brings it back. So we'll do that when we're 6, 7, 8 weeks out. And that typically brings it back to that 4 to 6 week, and we'll watch it for a while. But you never know what happens in a year, right? This is an election year, and so that gets kind of weird, and everyone's still kind of watching, maybe not everyone, but a decent amount of the population is still watching and waiting to see what the economy is like. They're waiting to see what the Fed does, and they're waiting for all of this stuff to see if they feel safe spending their money. But if this summer progresses like most every other summer, so here in probably we're basically in April at this point. So a month from now in May, we'll start seeing the schedule fill up, and then we'll start probably doing price increases from there just to keep it in the 4 to 6 week zone. Because like I said, that's the market telling us that, my opinion is that's the market telling us that we're providing more value for the dollar than the customer sees from elsewhere. So Jeff says, surely consumers aren't stupid. They're not. The cost is put somewhere or you make less margin, period. Nothing is free. We just give them our best price. And if we want to work with them, either the salesperson or the company makes less. That's it. Okay. If we offer some type of supposed sale item, it's because we have overstock or got a discount for some reason, but we never do it just to keep our schedule full or arbitrarily to make less. And that's a great thing about America is you're free to run your company however you'd like to, Jeff. Like I said, I like the comfort of having 4 to 6 weeks of work booked for my guys. They like the stability of knowing, hey, for the next month, we know what we're doing. It helps with employee retainage, that sort of thing. But if you're willing to go back down to 1 or 2 weeks, and that's absolutely fine. No one's saying you have to. Craig Eubanks, always great content. Hope all is well, Joe. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. Guys, I'd love to have this conversation. So, like I said, drop your comments in the comments below. I think we're starting to see the markets come around, at least here in the Midwest. So you guys on the East and West Coast, from what we see on Facebook, your market's heated up about a month ago, which tends to take a month for things to percolate into the Midwest here. Excuse me, but we are seeing sales pop up. So, like I said, we sunsetted the free upgrade, and will likely be leading into price increases this summer. But I hope it is the same for you guys. While we wait for comments to come in the chat, you guys are going to see a video Monday that you're going to have questions about. And I absolutely understand. I'm not supposed to talk about it now because we've got the video and I don't want to preempt that video. But leave your questions in that video. I'll be able to talk about it more next Saturday. Actually next Saturday. So Caleb's coming on. He and I are going to have a discussion about what the video is before the video comes out, just so he knows what to expect on that live. And you guys will have a lot of questions and we will answer them all in the live next week. But Cliff Notes version is changes coming to the channel, sort of thing. Who you see and when you see them, that sort of thing. But I was going to talk to you guys about, but I think it'd be better if you watch the video Monday and make a little bit more sense, maybe in context. Yeah, let me know how you guys are doing. How far out are you booked right now? How far out is your ideal? So it's always interesting, like I said. So I was talking to a gentleman from the Northeast. They love being 2 or 3 weeks out. And so they'll pull their levers, whichever levers they wish to pull, to stay 2 or 3 weeks out. And his point is that customers that want fence now are willing to pay a little bit more for it than customers that could care less when it's installed. So in the summer, when everyone like us is 4 to 6 weeks out, or there's folks out there that like to stay several months out, if a customer wants a fence right now, they're going to call around. They're going to realize the other guys, the other companies are booked up, but they really need it now. We see this a lot in the spring. Actually, particularly, we'll start getting these calls next week because Sunday's Easter. So for whatever reason, at least, maybe it's only in our area, but I'd have to think it's a little bit everywhere. Puppies, the Easter Bunny brings kids puppies for some reason, which I'm thankful for, because there are 3 things that keep a fence company business. It's kids, it's pets, and it's bad neighbors, or neighbors in general. But typically, it's usually because of bad neighbors. So when the Easter Bunny brings puppies typically need to be fenced in. So we'll start getting those calls of, hey, there's a new puppy in the house. We really need a fence because I've been taking it outside to do its business, and I don't want to take it outside to do its business anymore. Or we have a fence and we haven't had a dog in a while, or we've never had a dog. We just had a fence for the kids. We let the dog out, and lo and behold, it found that rotten fence picket and it broke out, or we're trying to use our gates now. Anyway, on and on and on. So we'll start getting these calls in the next week or 2. But like I said, right now we're in that 4 to 6, probably 6 to 7 once we run through the deposit checks. We'll just have to say, hey, call it 6 weeks out. Well, maybe they don't want to wait a month and a half to have their fence. They would really like to have it in the next couple of weeks. And if Amazon and everyone else has taught us anything, is that people are willing to pay more to have the same product faster, a certain percentage. Now, there are people, and we have this conversation here internally. So we sell a good amount of fence fittings on Amazon, specifically Amazon Prime. And there's several people here that continue to talk about how bad of a deal Prime is. It just doesn't make sense. And, unless you buy a lot, you're not getting your money's worth. Totally understandable. I like having Prime because a lot of times we can get things next day. There's some markets where you can get same day. So, and these are probably massive markets. You see a lot of the content that comes out of like Chicago, New York, Miami, that's Dallas, where they have same day Amazon delivery, which is a wild thought. But in our market, it's next day. Even though we have an Amazon facility now that's 10 miles from here, 15 miles from here. I really thought that would come down to one day, or same day. But anyway, and everything on Amazon is more expensive. Typically, there are exceptions, but you've got to think about, we'll get these questions sometimes. We sell fittings both on our site, ozfence.store, and on Amazon, amazon.com. Why is it more expensive on Amazon? Well, because Amazon charges 34%, 33 or 34% of the sale in various fees. There's no one fee that's 30%, but there's a listing fee. There's an inventory fee, there's a platform fee, there's a marketing fee, there's all these fees that get tacked on. It's about 33, 34%. That's why it's more expensive, because all of that gets packed into the purchase price of this product. But people still buy on Amazon all the time. A lot of times they don't look elsewhere, so they're willing to pay because they want it delivered to their door the next day. There's nothing, which doesn't make a lot of sense in that you can, if we're talking about, bath soap, shampoo, something, you could certainly run down to Target or Walmart or wherever you buy your soap and shampoo, and buy it same day, but you'll pay more for it than you would to get it next day, but delivered to your door. You'll pay more for convenience, right? And you'll pay more for Prime than you will be for like a fulfilled by merchant, because again, a Prime delivery, a fulfilled by Amazon, is an additional fee. So those fees are closer to 45%. But again, convenience and speed. And so this is the point, is that there are companies that like to only stay 2 or 3 weeks out because they know people will pay more if they're motivated properly to have that fence installed quickly than to wait. And some people will make the opposite decision. Some people will say, hey, my fence is good enough. It's keeping the dogs in for now. I can wait 6 or 8 weeks, have this fence installed, and save 10% or whatever it is. It's interesting to see in different areas the different business models. So this is a good question. So Craig asks, at what point do you think about hiring another crew or bringing in a sub crew? So we like to think about, we'll try to forecast out. So every quarter we're forecasting for the next quarter, and we're working on being more accurate at forecasting further out from there, a half a year. We're working on that. We're working on figuring that out with software and all that. But I would have to be very confident that we can keep that crew busy through the wintertime. Now, you mentioned a sub crew, so that's maybe a different conversation. But if it is a really good crew, which to put our work up and to put our sign on it, we would want a really good crew, a crew that builds great work and that works independently. And we want rock stars, right? Superstars. I don't want to let them go in the wintertime, right? Or in a sub crew, it wouldn't be letting them go. It would be just the work drying up and we don't have work. And then we're going to have to make a decision of who gets to work, who doesn't get to work. And ultimately we end up losing a crew, right? Because everyone has bills. Everyone has mouths to feed. Everyone has heads to cover, the roofs to put over people's heads, that sort of thing. For us, I would need to feel comfortable that if we reduced everyone's workload, we would have enough work to cover everyone's workload 75% of their available time, whether we're talking about a sub crew, so that we can keep them busy 3-4 days out of 5. If it's in-house crews that we can, 30, 35 hours, 40 hours. Someone asked a question earlier that I'll bring up here in a little bit, talking about what to do to keep guys busy in the off season. But we can fill that time with a little bit of work to pre-work, but I want to keep them busy on paying jobs 35 hours out of the week, 30 hours out of the week. But if we're seeing enough work come in and we've got reason to believe that it's sustainable, whether it's we found a new marketing channel or we found a new product offering or something, if I can keep the crew busy 75%, at 75% or more capacity through the wintertime, that's typically when I'll bring them on. No one likes turning anybody loose, whether it's a team member or whether it's a subcontractor. So that's for us personally. If I can keep them busy, if I think I can keep them busy through the upcoming winter, we'll certainly bring people on. We're bringing people on internally now. Right now, the team members we're bringing on for Ozark Fence are more for fabrication and e-commerce, not so much our in-field production installation. But if I can keep them busy through the wintertime, then we'll do it. Bo Butler says 4 to 5 weeks out is our sweet spot. More than that, the customers seem to go with somebody else. We're honestly in the red January and February just to keep the schedule full. Absolutely, Bo. And I think this is pretty typical that you see guys go in the red January, February so that they can keep guys busy, so that they keep team members on work and they keep them motivated to come in, and they keep them confident that, hey, there is work on the horizon. There's work coming. It's just over the horizon. It'll be here in a month or two. We're going to keep you busy. We're going to keep you in hours so that you can keep your bills paid through the wintertime, knowing that there is a bunch of work coming this summer. There's likely going to be overtime, that sort of thing. That's interesting. Kevin says, I often find Amazon cheaper with shipping, sadly. So it sounds like it's not Prime, just fulfilled by merchants type things. So that's interesting that it's cheaper with shipping. So, like I said, Amazon fulfilled by merchant, Amazon fees are 30 to 35%. Or fulfilled by merchant on Amazon is 35%. Fulfilled by Amazon, so this is like your Prime sales, that sort of thing, 40 to 45% just gets taken off the top before you get paid out. Now, maybe there's brands that, maybe their sales channels and, maybe selling through Target has, a higher fee than that to when you get into store placement, shelf stocking, that sort of thing. I know for us, our things on Amazon are more expensive than our things directly, just because there are those 30% fees that I don't pay selling them through ozfence.store or selling them through our walk-up retail counter. Yeah. So Kevin says he does check local. So I love this a lot. Supporting local, I love supporting local more than I love supporting Amazon. It often would need to be ordered in, and then it is as much or more. So it always makes sense to check local, Kevin. Appreciate the feedback on that. All right, Fence Armor, good morning, Al. Good morning, Joe. Riding from the Great White North today. Man, I hope warm weather is headed your direction. I appreciate you tuning in. My Dragomeyer says, only 3-person company here. We have signed 7 jobs in the last 2 weeks, so we're kind of buried in a way. I love to hear that. Job we're on is 700 foot of 6-foot privacy. Sounds like a decent job. A good job. 700 foot is a good job for us. Everyone, congratulations on that. Bad terrain with tons of rain in the week. Well, it sounds like that job might last you a little bit longer than you had anticipated, but I'd always rather be busy than not. Congratulations on that. Absolutely. What area are you in? It'd be interesting to see what markets are busy right now. What is up? Robert Evers says, hello, watching from my camper at White Lake, North Carolina. Well, color me jealous, Robert. That sounds like a great time. I think I was checking the national weather, and it sounds like things are beautiful out in the Carolinas right now. All right. Guys, if you got any questions or comments, drop in. We've got probably about 15 more minutes. Love to talk with you guys. So there was a question earlier on. I saw it here or on YouTube. Let's see. So Roger had a question at the top of the show. Interested in what type of prefabrication you guys do during your slow time gates. I see slow time's always relative. I say we're a typical fence company. I hear guys also do things like this. We always say things like, this wintertime when things get slow, we're really going to get stocked up. We're going to fix the tools that broke. We're going to work ahead on gates. We're going to get caught up on fabrication. We're going to get this lot cleaned up and organized and all that. And lo and behold, the slow time never comes in wintertime. It seems like the more you plan on it and and I think the problem is you have 6 or 7 months of, well, in wintertime, we'll do this. And the wintertime list starts getting pretty long. What do we do to prefabricate? Gates, as you alluded to, is a number one way to keep the fab shop working, but in a beneficial way. So we'll prefab chain link gates. So for us, 4-foot chain link is pretty typical, galvanized and black. So 4x4s, 4x5s, 4x6s, and then 6-foot. We'll do some 6-foot. That's mostly going to be your commercial. So your 1.5" frame. We'll do, again, 6x4, 6x5, 6x6s. We'll start prefabricating some hillsides. I say that because sloped gates, you typically want to build them to the slope. But we'll look at our averages and say, hey, if we had a dozen gates last year that were 4x4 and they were 2-inch drop high side left or whatever it is, then let's build half of that. And so that the first few that come through, we'll be ready for them. We can just pick up a gate, send it out the door, and call it good. Same thing with wood gates. So all of our wood fences, the gates are steel posts with steel frames. So wood gates probably is not the correct term. Steel framed gates for wood. We'll do the same thing. 6x4, 6x5s. We don't do 6x6 gates. We don't do 6-foot wide gates on wood with our typical Shark hardware. So those, we do the gates, but they're just built differently, and they're built to order. But we'll do a lot of the common stuff. We'll look at what we sold last year. So we'll say, usually in December, we'll say, all right, so this year we sold 500 6x4 gate, whatever the number is. Let's build half of them. So here's your order sheet for 250 of those gates. As you guys have time, let's work them in. If we've got a snow days here, I say snow day. So if the schools cancel, if the school district cancels school for weather, whether it's snow, ice, whatever, the day will be optional. So if it falls on a Tuesday that would normally work, a message goes out to everybody that says today, due to the school closure, today is optional. One of us, so I say one of us, so me, my dad, or my sister, one of the leadership team, Matt or Scott, we're going to make it in. So if you guys want to come in and get some hours, you can. And that's usually when we really crank these gates out. Or we'll work ahead. E-commerce, Amazon always wants more things. So there's always boxes to fill and fittings to ship to Amazon, or work ahead on that. I'll work ahead on fittings, building fitting packs, that sort of thing. Yeah. So pre-work ahead. Gates is a great way. If you guys have a fabrication facility where you can fabricate gates, maybe you decide, hey, we're not offering free upgrades. When we have downtime, we'll just have everyone fabricate gates, and we'll have our welders do the welding of the frames. We'll have the guys that are typically in the field building fence. We'll have them wiring gates, whatever it might be. Pre-staining lumber, we've got a pre-stain shop to where we'll do some of that. We'll say, hey, last year we sold this many of 6 foot tall, 7.5 inch wide boards, pre-stained chestnut. All right. We don't do half. We'll typically do a third, just because we don't have that. Once we pre-stain them, we'll still keep them inside, so they're nice and fresh when they go to the customer. We don't have that much interior storage. We've got a decent amount, but it seems like we continue to grow in every direction. That being said, absolutely find some work ahead work. Gates are a great way to do it. A lot of organization, my favorite thing. Not everyone's favorite thing, but I think it's impressive when a customer pulls in and sees a nice, well-organized lot. It also leads to efficiencies. Guys know exactly where everything is. So that's how we work ahead, or that's how we fill downtime. So that's one of the ways. If this contractor is loves being 2 or 3 weeks out, there's likely going to be weeks where you've got a light week. So maybe they do that throughout the year, which would be smart, so that you're not trying to do all of your makeup work in the wintertime. All right. Meet Dragamyers. So this was a 700-foot job. They're kind of buried in work, is in Bolivar, Ohio. Very good. It's interesting how you see, so Bolivar comes from Bolivar, I'm sure. So we've got a Bolivar here in Missouri. So interesting to see how often you see these foreign cities repeated in the United States, which you see it everywhere. So, all right, guys. So we've got a few minutes left. What to discuss? Let me know if you guys have any questions or comments. Chance Roy, what's up, Chance? How are you? Topic of the day, if you guys are just joining in, want to jump in on it, is your optimal lead time and what levers you push or pull to fill a schedule or to try to keep a schedule more caught up. Robert says, our business is taking off in the spring. We were never slow in the winter time. I have a 5-man crew with 1 crew leader. I'm the gate operator tech, and everything else, my dad is working in the office and talking with the customers. Our business is 30 years old this year. Congratulations. We're always planning on and move in the direction the business is telling us to as a whole. Absolutely. So, never slow in the wintertime. I'm jealous of that. I'll be honest. So, and this can come into pricing. I'm sure if we priced ourselves differently, maybe we'd be. Now, this was actually our first, and I say slow winter. So the schedule there for a while pulled back to 2 or 3 weeks out. And for me, that's a signal that we're getting a little slow, and we'll start pushing and pulling levers to build that back up to 4 to 6 weeks. But in the winter between 20 and 21, obviously not slow. 21, 22, 22, 23. This is the first winter between 23 and 24 that we weren't just 5 or 6 weeks out consistently. And I think this might come as a shock to companies that started just in the last year or two that, it's normal to have seasons, right? In seasons we've got peak season and off peak season, right? To use amusement terms. So we're near a city called Branson, Missouri, which they have, I don't know what you'd call it. Silver City, I guess you'd call it like a themed amusement park. Mark, does that sound right?
Yeah.
With Silver City?
Yeah, I think so.
It's kind of an amusement park in that it's got rides, but it's also themed in I don't know. They've got steel forgeries. It's set in the way back, and anyway, they'll have peak season and non-peak. Same thing with resorts and all that. People like to come to Branson. Spring break is basically the starting bell of the season, and then it goes through. I don't know. Thanksgiving might be a little late in the year. Anyway, it's normal for us to have peak season and off-peak season, right? So we're starting to get back to that. So anyway, say that, Robert. I am jealous of not being slow in the wintertime. Chance Roy says 2 crews, 1 month. Love it. Right at 4 weeks. What we were saying earlier, Chance, was that 4 to 6 weeks is kind of the sweet spot. You see a lot of people talk about it. It's certainly our sweet spot. That makes me the most comfortable. Chance, I prefer 2 months, though. Gives time to think. That's the thing is 4 to 6 weeks, but for 6 weeks, it gives us time to breathe and think about other things. We're not as honed in on making sure to fill the schedule, right? So absolutely. So 2 months, 8 weeks. So someone was saying earlier, so Bo was saying earlier, 4 to 5 weeks out. So we're all kind of in this sweet spot. More than that, the customers seem to go somewhere else. And I think when we get to that 7-8 week mark and beyond, we start losing work that would have been ours price wise, but we lose work because they don't want to wait 2 months. They don't want to wait 8 weeks. Part of it could be our deposit requirements. We require a 50% deposit up front to get on the schedule along with a signed contract for services. And listen, I understand if the average, yard is $8,500, I don't know that I'd want to give up a little over $4,000 to sit with somebody else for 2 months and wait for them to come build the fence. I understand that. I think so. That's kind of the thought here is 4 to 6 weeks is long enough to where it makes us feel comfortable. It gives our guys a sense of stability here that they've got a lot of work for a long time. But it's not so long that customers are saying, I'm going to call around and see if someone, again, maybe they call the guy that's 2 or 3 weeks out, but it's 20% more. They're willing to pay that 20% more to have the fence installed now rather than wait. It's a juggling act. It really is. But interesting to hear. So 2 months out, I think everyone would prefer to be just booked indefinitely. Like, let's talk about pool builders for a second. And this could vary by market, I guess, but every pool builder here in our market is a year and a half out. Period. The slow guys, the guys that are just all caught up, are a year. It's wild to think about having a year and a half's worth of work just waiting for you. Now, they're not taking 50% deposits and the rest, but anyway. Benji, what is up? Benji, hello. I also recommend starting on your winter SEO plan now. Need to start 90 to 120 days out. Benji, great advice. We talked about this a little bit at the Staining University in that my talk was basically about you can't take your foot off the gas. You can't give anyone a moment to try to catch up with you in this race that is business. So Benji, this is right in that same vein of when you are 4 to 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out, don't take your foot off the pedal. Don't say, I'll figure out winter when winter gets here. When we get slow, I'll start figuring it out. Because specifically when you're talking about SEO, that's not a lever you just pull and sales come in, right? That's not a lead gen campaign. It's not a paid, lead generation paid ads. It's none of that. SEO takes time to percolate. If it's done right, percolate and build. So when you're busy is the best time to figure out what your plan for the upcoming winter is going to be, and cash flow is better. So you can pay ahead a little bit, and so that wintertime comes, all it's paid for, all the groundwork's done, and hopefully hopefully you level out that dip that a lot of people see in the off season. Great point, Benji. Chan says, I find a subdivision job will not wait. So developers want it, and they want it right now. But they're also very price sensitive too. So in our market. So we were talking to a gentleman that was developing a subdivision. I talked to him Thursday. He's got a great head on his shoulders as far as when it comes to fence, because one, he doesn't hate fences, which a lot of developers in our area seem to hate fences. He said, hey, here's what I'm thinking. He actually walked through, I know him through another contractor that does a lot of work for him that he trusts. So he said, hey, talk to me about these fences. We're creating our HOA documents, our covenants and restrictions. I want to talk about the fences. Steel post. So, not specifically calling out postmasters, but describing a postmaster style post. Cedar materials, they have to be stained. I push for pre-stain because we might be the only contractor that pre-stains here. But we settled on that it needs to be a stained cedar fence. So, but to his point is, and this is where these conversations go sometimes, is, well, I also need the perimeter fence done. And, I would love a bid on that. I also need it built quickly. I'd like it to be built before a lot of the surrounding homes are built, or a lot of the homes are built in there, to get you guys in and get irrigation done outside. And so he wants it done, and tomorrow would be great, but also has a budget in mind. Now, where the budget comes from, anybody's guess. But yeah, subdivision jobs don't wait. They go when they want to go. But they're also the jobs that are several thousand feet at the same time. So you could put 2 crews on one of those subdivision jobs and let them sit for a good amount of time and just work, which is nice. Robert says, one of the reasons we're not slow in the winter is because we've established customers. Sure. Gate operator services. No, I lost a few residential bids during the winter because I was high bid. Yeah. So, and you get a lot of that. So word of mouth doesn't typically taper off anytime. So word of mouth is good whenever, and that's having an established business. But you're right. The residential bids. And so when I'm talking about, everything I'm talking about today is on the residential side. I said earlier that, commercial work is just steady Eddie. We're about 5 weeks out most months of the year on commercial. Now in summertime we'll get a little bit more backlogged, but typically we're not slow through the winter for commercial work. But residential is where we see, we'll start losing bids because there are contractors that will go into the red in January, February, and we won't go into the red. We'll slide down on our pricing sometimes. Usually, like I say, we'll like to pull the lever of free upgrade credits, just to try to stay in that 4 to 6 week. But we'll start losing work just because we're not, because we weren't low enough. We were the high bid for sure. Shane Catton, what's up, Shane? Hope y'all are having a great weekend and a happy Easter. Jumping in live from brunch. Shane, thank you so much for joining us. Well, guys, I hope you guys got value out of this. If you guys are just jumping in, the recorded version of this live will be available here in a little bit. I hope everyone's schedules fill up and everyone goes to full margin pricing here as quickly as possible. Big video coming out Monday. Watch for that video. Is all I can say. It'll be, I didn't get emotional on the video. I watched the final. I didn't get emotional on the video, but it is an emotional subject. So watch for that video coming out Monday, and we will discuss it next week in our live Q&A. Caleb will be joining us, so we'll also talk about all things. It's spring, so we're in spring cleaning season. We're going to talk about wood cleaning, restoring, that sort of thing, how things are going at Expert Professional Wood Care Products. They've got a beautiful new facility that I hope to be visiting soon. I'd love to hear about how that's coming online and go from there. Guys, appreciate you joining us in the live today. Until next week, Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors, and I'll see you next time.